ladies and gentlemen of all ages, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Angry Meat Production. We appreciate you coming in and letting us be a part of your lives week in and week out. We hope to do our best to present you with something that your eardrums delight in. Whether you're looking at us on YouTube or Rumble, or listening to us on Spotify, Google, or Anchor, or any of the other podcast services that we are currently on or trying to get on. We thank you. And if you don't mind, at the end of every episode, stop by, leave us a comment, leave us a like. If it asks for 5 stars, we'll take 5 stars, even if you don't like us. 5 stars are what it's all about. With that being said, we hope you enjoy our attempt to make our advocation our vocation. Ladies and gentlemen, let the games begin.
Welcome, Angry Faithful. Today, I totally dropped the ball on this one. I totally forgot your name. I know it's Bob, but you have
Dubeansky.
Dubeansky. I got that. All right.
Yeah.
Bob Dubeansky. There's only like a couple of them I've had on the show that I'm like, oh, okay, I can get that. Like Tansy was easy.
Yeah.
Because I hear his name all the time on his own podcast. But marketing and digital media is your forte, right?
Yeah. So we have kind of an interesting story. I got a job in sales, like a lot of people do at a young age, because you make more money. I think I learned early on I could make more money waiting tables than I could selling TVs or being a cashier or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you learn. I got a bunch of soft skills doing that. You try to look for opportunities. You go to college, and I think my first official title was news editor.
Oh,
For
okay.
an ABC television affiliate out in El Paso. I was going to UTEP at the time, and so having that type of opportunity was really cool. I wasn't really good at news editing. It seemed like the weekend producers always wanted to put so much into their show, and I wasn't getting the best supporting cast on the weekends. So
I actually have. Sorry to interrupt you. I actually have
Right.
like a bad experience with the news. Only
Yeah.
because it's a long story. Columbine High, in the high school, we were called the Trench Coat Mafia. That whole bullshit happened out, but we were in Wichita Falls, and they edited it a certain way to where we were about to take down the school.
Yeah, that's not okay. You see a lot of things in the news these days that weren't there, even 10 years ago. And even 10 years ago, we were, starting to see a slide in ethics then. And so,
Yeah.
it's hard to understand. I don't think the news agencies are all in this, plot together to but it is hard. We have laxed on a lot of the laws that allows conglomerates to kind of gather. And so most of the agencies or airwaves, so to speak, are owned by just a couple of folks, and so it gets harder and harder. Now, it's if you look at it from that angle, it's real easy to say, oh, there's a conspiracy and the news is the enemy and everything. But most of what the news consists of is just young people trying to get a career.
Yeah.
And they're out there trying to break a story any way they can. And unfortunately, not everybody has the same ethics. I think it's media literacy is so important in today's day and age because the more media literate we are when we're participating in something like that, it's very easy to tell what the angle is, and oftentimes you find out who you can trust and what publications you can and can't trust once you see kind of what they've printed or what you said and what they ran with, you know.
Yeah.
There's made no doubt about it. It's entertainment. It's there to sell commercials. I think that's one of the great things about what we have now with the internet is, pop culture could, like your show, for example, this didn't exist 20 years ago. You know what I mean? This would have costed us, a lot of money and resources and people to put something like this together. And so as media becomes more and more accessible and more affordable to produce, content varies. We end up getting all sorts of stuff, like almost everything behind you. There's some type of subculture that is attached to it.
Yeah.
And you use the internet and you find those like-minded people and you're able to connect that way. But that's one of the best things about it. But at the same time, you start looking at some of that, and sometimes what connects people isn't always positive or good, or fiction, for example.
Yeah, especially what's happening in the news right now. Well, Kanye West getting like
Oh,
he's
man.
kicked off of like every form, and it's his own fault, really. And
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to be careful. You can't, in this country, we have freedom of speech, but there are consequences to that freedom.
yeah, you can really find out who's the douchebag really fast nowadays.
We'll put a mic in front of them.
Yeah. Let them talk for about 2 hours.
Right,
You
right.
can figure this out.
Yeah,
That's the
people
great thing about this media is, I can talk to a person for about 2 hours and everything. And funny story is I got a lieutenant in a police department. It was just a joke. He didn't really do it. He didn't hear me fully when he answered the question. Yes, I was like, because he was talking about going to see a Rocky Horror Picture Show. I was like,
Okay.
oh, you dressed in drag when you went to go see it. And he's like, yeah. It's like, are you sure you want to do that, dude? I mean, a lot of your cop buddies are gonna watch this show, right? He's like, yeah.
Right.
What are you talking about? You basically admitted that you dressed up like uh a transvestite for the
Right.
movie going out. It's like, oh no. I was like, can you edit that out? Oh hell no.
Oh, hell no, 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 no.
Now where
No,
you?
it's funny, like I said, subservient cultures are fun to be a part of. But sometimes there's reasons why they're subservient. You know what I mean? That not everything belongs in the mainstream. The
Yeah.
internet's a great place for that, though. And there's so much going on. There's good, happy places to be found, though, and art and music is thriving more than ever. It's almost like it was back in the 80s, with the advent of MTV and that type of thing. Um, you're seeing an explosion of awareness, and people don't really need the machine to build that brand anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have a lot of cops on the show here recently.
Yeah,
One, it's one, it's horrible that they're getting treated the way they're getting treated. They're getting treated as like always the villain. That's
yeah.
all. They're all, even if they're doing the job right, they're I mean,
Well, there's certain jobs that are just not win. I used
oh
to
yeah.
do refereeing, for example. I
What
would
was that?
I used to do refereeing,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
referee youth sports, and after about one or two seasons, I was like, yeah, this is just not a good win. There's no good way this ends for me. And unfortunately, my call to give back to my community in that regard was snuffed out by the downside to some of the side effects, I guess, of the position. Cops are in a real tough spot right now. There's nothing easy about their job, and everybody has a bad day at work. I think that's the thing is, with social media these days, it's real hard uh, to kind of be reasonable. We go mad in masses. Everybody gets angry about the way somebody handled something, but put them in that situation, and they probably don't handle it any better, and
Yeah.
so I think it's sometimes important just to kind of take a step back, take a deep breath, and, you know everybody has a bad day at work. Unfortunately, when I'm building websites or selling social media or SEO or something like that, or a logo, nobody's going to die, and so that's a big difference between what I do and what they do, and it's tough. I remember walking into a friend of mine's office. He was a graphic designer at a firm here, and telling him, hey, these guys are looking for somebody at $90 an hour or something, and he scoffs like, oh, I'm worth 120. And it's like, man, cops are being paid like $22 an hour, and they're getting shot at, and here you are drawing pictures with a pen on a computer and think you're
It's,
worth
e-
$120 an hour.
it's
It's
even
just
worse as a military because someone did the math on that and they're like, you could probably work at McDonald's, make the same amount of wage if you work like extra.
Oh, probably less. Probably less.
Yeah.
Especially some of the other ones like Taco Bell. They're pretty competitive. A
Yeah.
manager at Taco Bell is probably making as much as an assistant principal in a school district, for example.
Yeah.
People don't
That's what's crazy.
realize, you know, sometimes what things are valued at.
Yeah. It's so strange how we actually end up uh getting to the point of like we don't realize what the other person's goes through. And we don't value that person even though we don't know what they go through.
Well, empathy is so very important in today's culture. I was having some struggles coming out of COVID with some of that. I felt like the last couple of elections did a lot to kind of polarize us from other folks. And sometimes we're so busy seeing the differences we have with somebody, we don't realize how much we have in common. And, when you go through something together, you start to have empathy for what the other person's dealing with, and even practicing it. I read a book recently called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It really talked about practicing this thing called tactical empathy, and it really helps you connect better at the end of the day, because at the end of the day you just want to communicate with others. Everything that we want to be proactive in accomplishing requires a communication skill set. And for example, what you're doing, you're bringing awareness with your platform to all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah. It, it's really just the whole fact that just the whole reason why I started this was because I knew a lot of people that had like charity groups and businesses, really, really small. And it was like right before COVID. I started getting everything together. I was like 2019 time frame. And that's what I wanted to get. Just wanted to get a lot of people that were, starting their businesses and everything, get their voice off. If it was on it's starting out, I mean, right now I'm at 80. I was at like 10. I was still going strong. I mean, you just got to keep it up. But I had a lot of people come back. It's like, hey, I want to talk about my business. It's like, yeah, sure, come on, buddy.
yeah.
And I
Well,
ended up having like great relationships with that.
oh well, yeah. That's the thing is, that's one of the things this book talks about is, the person not talking is typically going to hold the power in a conversation because they're the ones that are gathering information.
Yes.
And so finding ways to open up people to communicate with you, we're so used to this pre-programmed go for a yes, hey, can I get you to commit to this, or can I get you to commit to that? And so, Chris kind of flips it over and uses some neuroscience to kind of talk about how going for a no is so much more safe, and how sometimes if you go for a no, you're able to clear logistical obstacles that might stand in your way. For example, with this podcast, would it be impossible for me to think that we could do this again another day? Absolutely not, right? So, in fact, you would probably tell me exactly the steps I could pursue to make that happen. And so sometimes, going for that no and phrasing it up, it's just a little bit of a different approach. And the empathy part's so very important. You get people to kind of talk about themselves or what they got going on. It's they get passionate about it, You know what I mean? And so having a platform like this and allowing people to do that is definitely kind of a pay it forward type of thing. Is one of the reasons I was like, yeah, let's check it out, let's do it. You know?
Yeah. Well, I had the same thing. I totally forgot. And everybody like I tell is like, hey, just contact me through these things. If I get a hold of you, I get a. There's only like one person I didn't want to have on the show, and it was for my co-host. He's like, man, I got this person. He has a business. It's really going and everything. I was like, okay, yeah, just have him message me and I'll check it out because I'll vent the person. If I haven't met him and talked to him or anything like that, I'll vent the person. Dude, it was Amway. He was selling Amway. I was like, dude, you do realize he was selling Amway.
Well, Amway.
I mean, you could be passionate about Amway, but it's freaking a pyramid scheme.
Well, let me tell you about my Amway. No, I'm totally kidding. You know, part of what I do is, you know, I work with Magik Digital, and one of the things that we do is really look locally to promote economic development in and around Texas by making, you know, web tech and strategies that are affordable and sustainable. And so we're a little different than what everything else that you're finding out there and stuff. And part of my job is to identify that. You know, you would think that everybody needs our services, and you're absolutely right. But I don't want to empower the wrong people to grow a platform of, you know, counterproductivity, so to speak. You know, sometimes people aren't finding success, and it's not because of their marketing, so to speak. So
yeah, it's just basically their own personality.
well, getting somebody out of their own way, oftentimes, I mean, we are always going to be our own worst enemy and our own best friend at the same time. You know, we can definitely be guilty of hyping ourselves up, as well as you know, kind of lying to ourselves, so to speak.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
you know.
Well, the main problem a lot of people have with me when I tell them about my podcast and everything, and this is not going against them, and it's not going against me. It's one of those things is they always like, oh, you need to focus on this. I was like, I have fun with like 3 different things.
Yeah,
I don't know sports, but I still like to have Johnny on. And he loves talking about sports. And then and now we have Chris on, and oh man, it is just I sent you the one at Tansy, but you can flip through it. Go to
I'll check out more. I'll check out
you
more.
You don't, but check out the Tansy one. That was hilarious.
I love listening to podcasts as I work. So, you know, I got a couple of happy places on the internet that I frequently, a little more often than others. Like, you know, what part of the journey that led me to reading that book, you know, Never Split the Difference, was
I'm gonna put a note.
mentorship. You know, Harry Mack was an inspiration to me on the internet, and just the way he goes on his platform, Omegle. It's not his platform, but he goes on there and he finds these people that definitely have a facade up when you meet them. And then, you know, by the end of it, he leaves them beaming, and it's because he's met them where they're at and kind of broken down that facade and gotten on their level. And so that was really an inspiration to me to kind of start to seek that, especially with our business, you know. But like you said, you know, you can't empower the wrong people, you know. If somebody's there and they're not doing good work, or you know, it's not legitimate. You know, that's what I try to tell people all the time. The only thing I can't do for you is authenticity. You have to be authentic. And so if you know, that's the thing with your content, you know. I'm seeing this thing at the Freak 97.1. I love what they're doing over here in DFW, because they kind of have that same attitude. It's like, look, we don't have to have anything. We can do what we want. Like, you know, that's what I love about, you know, working with Magik Digital. We own this company. We can work with who we want. If you're not a fit for us, that's great. You know, and so many people just look at it one way. They're like, oh, well, you know, you realize we're vetting you. It's like, yeah, well, we're vetting you too. You know?
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's like, are you an asshole? You're an asshole.
Well, you know, the world needs assholes too. But
yes,
sometimes, you know, tapping into that can be cool too. Like, look at Bill Burr, right? I don't think anyone would be like, oh, that guy's a great, nice guy, but man, he's funny as hell, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes
I had there was an instant this last week, me and Chris were talking about it, and it was and this happened in San Antonio. Guy was in a wheelchair. Vet was supposedly in a wheelchair, couldn't move around. Well, the news group started getting phone calls that he was walking around his neighborhood.
Oh wow.
And he just got this house. He was given this house because everything was set up for a wheelchair and everything.
Charitable.
And I was talking to Chris about it. I was like, Chris, if BRCC ever needs a person to vet somebody, I will push a guy out of a wheelchair just to make sure.
Oh
like,
wow.
That's not thanks. I think I'm supposed to say thanks after that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I was like,
we all have these things that we say that we think are funny. I'll go to, sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, it's as fun as a kick in the teeth, or man, it makes me want to punch a baby, or something. I mean? And some people are like, oh my god, is that, is he for real? No, I'm not for real.
I literally have to be careful because the jokes that I end up saying, I was like, me and a friend of mine, at the time I was babysitting, she was like, probably she started walking and playing with his little girl, and they were pretty much born in the same time frame. She was probably around about 12 months old or so. And we were joking around. I was like, dude, maybe we should have like a baby fight club. I was like, ha ha ha, that'd be fun. I mean, it's hilarious. I was like, oh, that's funny. Like 3 months later, he comes up banging on my door. He's like, dude, you wouldn't believe what happened. I was like, okay, what?
Was he talking about that all female fight?
No, it was a nursery where nurses were putting they put up the kids to fight each other, and this happened like in Delaware.
Yeah, I was reading something last week where it wasn't, it was a bunch of single moms that had put their kids in this.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. It's I don't, again, I try to stay out of the static league. There's some things I just don't want to know about or don't want to read because I can't unsee it or I can't unlearn it, And I know, we're in today's day and age, we're supposed to feel like we got to be part of every cause or something. But, some of my mentors right now is like, hey, if it's not on your vision board, maybe it ends up there next year or something like that. But sometimes that's a real easy way to kind of stay committed to what you have in front of you, because there's no shortage of causes out there, man. There's no shortage of fraud, so you really just want to try and make the best impact you can with what you can, and kind of move forward. You're not going to be able to do that if you're paying attention to every everything to detail, you know what I mean, in regards to these horrendous acts of humanity. It's like no shortage of it. Everybody at DFW right now is really going on about this little girl in the FedEx truck the other day, and there's this whole pink movement, and it's just sad and it's brutal, but it affects our community, and these there's no shortage of it, and it's like, hey, this one case is especially brutal. 7-year-old girl dead, but this is probably not the first time this has happened either. And it's like, what about the last little girl? How come she didn't get the same exposure and stuff like that? And so it's just tough.
There's actually a good reference with that. Because I was looking up data for the serial killer podcast.
Okay.
And hand to God, this is the reason. If the person that was murdered, like Ted Bundy, he murdered beautiful women. That's the reason why it got a lot of play. Now, the one just recently that happened down in Dallas about the guy that was like injecting, it's still going on. We still got to do a little bit more with it. But the guy injected the chemicals into the IV and killed old people.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's not a lot of people know about that guy.
Right.
Only because he was doing it to old people that were ugly.
Yeah.
If you're beautiful and everything,
you're young,
beautiful.
Right. I mean, you
And
look at the Juarez murders for what, a decade or more. There was a serial killer going crazy down there, and hell, half the people here in DFW probably never even heard about it.
yeah,
It's crazy. It's crazy. Um, it's all part of the thing, though. That's what I try to tell people. Is like, stop getting involved in every cause. Stop trying to give your attention to everything because you really can't make a difference there. What you need to realize is you're creating your own algorithm by your behaviors on these computers. So if you're just looking for the next tragedy, that's what you're going to start to see all the time. And
yeah,
so try to look for the good, try to balance it. If you're not seeing the type of content you want to online, start pursuing it, because then they'll start showing it to you more. You can really kind of self-design your way out of this nightmare you're in as well. So.
yeah. Like just recent. I mean, I bawled my eyes out when I was reading watching this story. And it's a story that this little girl was making baked goods because she had something to do with her leg that was causing her pain. She was trying to get it like it would cost like $100,000 to get it amputated. It's a deformity and it sucks. But what it ended up happening is a local baker found out about it. He's like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna let you borrow my bakery for 24 hours. You can get your stuff and people can come in." They're raised about 50,000. Then they put the bakery online, and probably around an hour, $3 million.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Oh man, I was like tearing up through the whole thing. The because she likes pigs. Someone gave her like one of those baby pigs. And I was like, my mom loves
um,
pigs.
the human interest stories that get you.
Dude, oh man, I don't give a shit how tough you think you are or how much of a badass. If you just look at that story and you're just like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
It was a heartwarming
No,
story.
it's funny.
I'm tearing
I
up
think
right
everybody
now.
gets caught at their moments too, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I remember when I got moved off of news editing, I got moved into master control, and so I'd find myself putting a lot of hours into master control late at night and stuff like that. And man, we'd run those PSAs. And
Uh,
I'll tell you what, man, those things will tear at your heartstrings as well. You're like, what am I doing? It's a 2-minute commercial. Why am I tearing up? But yeah, it's just ridiculous,
what
man.
was
They
what
got
was
this
it?
propaganda stuff down, man.
Yeah. Yeah, what was it? There was this like one. I was like something to do with like a heart of an angel start stuff and everything. And there was a thing that anytime anybody watched it, they started crying. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I remember those as a kid. I was like, I didn't
Mother
cry when I was a
daughter.
kid. But now I'm like looking at it. It was just, get
You
you some
gotta turn
money,
away.
man.
You gotta
Time to
turn
rob a
away.
bank.
Like, I want them Cowboys.
That's a heart story. No one, no one, no one cares about those boys.
Oh, what are you talking about? They put up 54 points yesterday. Oof.
They fucking demolished yesterday. I
That's the
caught
third
on the
time this
short end.
season they've had highest scoring points in the league. Third time
Yeah,
this season.
they're coming back, and
They've been coming
they
back
were
for a
too.
while. Philly
They
looks really good though too, man. I'll tell you what.
yeah.
I was surprised that San Francisco did so well, considering their quarterback situation
Yeah,
yesterday. Beat the
yeah.
Dolphins. They didn't just beat the Dolphins; they
Mhm.
handled the Dolphins pretty easily. Which I think the Dolphins are just explosive. They've just been one of those teams. You got about 8 teams this year that seem to be head and shoulders above the rest. So
Yeah, it's just it, I don't like to watch the like beginning seasons. I like to watch like probably around about November. I'll
okay,
start like Thanksgiving's my time frame when I watch the games.
man, I'll watch everything. I don't watch preseason, but I'm paying attention, and I'll just gobble up because I'm into fantasy. So I play fantasy. I've played fantasy for 2 decades now. So
So you
uh,
play NFL D&D mode?
no, I play.
That's what it's called. That's what I call it.
Oh, okay. You're making a joke. I was like, I
Yeah,
hadn't heard
yeah.
of that one. I hadn't heard of that one, but
No, well, a bunch of when I was working corrections, they were doing fantasy football all the time.
yeah.
Uh, and and they would get like jot down like the stats and everything. And I was like, "Oh, what y'all doing? Y'all playing D&D?" No, it's fantasy football.
Oh, that's so funny.
I was like,
It's funny. It comes from the same places. Back in the day, the fantasy baseballs were all this really got started. I think. And,
yeah,
that's kind of what it was. It was a lot of pencil pushing and maybe not rolling dice or what, but
I
kind of
know,
just
right?
keeping track of the stats and things like that. But yeah, I mean,
I
there's
would,
a
I would, I would, I would joke around with them all the time. I would be like, "Hey," I was like, "My receiver like did really well." I was like, "Oh, did you get like the elven boots on him
Did you
this
get the
time?
Wizards hat?
Did you get him the Wizards hat?" Yeah.
I do that in hockey all the time. I play online hockey. And so when they put me on defense, because I don't like to play defense very much, I'll start acting like I'm a wizard. And I'll be like, cast level 1 spell of defense. I'll be like, thou shalt not pass. Just have a really good time with it. So
Oh yeah.
it's good time. So
Yeah. That is one thing that I love just joking around with people because a lot of the people that I worked up at the corrections up at the Alra unit that some of them went to high school with and they were they're like, man, you're such a nerd. I was like, dude, I'm a nerd. You're a sports nerd. He's like,
yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'm like, you're a nerd about something. You're a movie nerd. You're a theater nerd.
Everybody geeks out to something. It's just you gotta.
Yes.
I think that's kind of what that empathy thing we were talking about earlier comes into true.
Yeah.
You get people talking about it, man. They'll talk for hours about their
Mhm.
passion.
I mean, and that's one place I learned when I was working at the prison was the basic fact of I had 12 hours at night. So basically, all I had to do is like deal with these guys for like probably about 3 to 4 hours,
Yeah.
come up, and I don't have anything else better to do except for like looking at a wall or read a magazine. So we ended up talking, bullshitting.
Oh yeah.
Even it's the same thing with cops too. And I that
Master Control's like that. Master Control can be real lonely because you're kind of just running commercials every half hour. And a lot of late night formats were doing, infomercials or something like that. So you'd have an hour of just, you just chase the internet all the way down to
yeah
the end.
yeah yeah and people are
There.
and people like wonder is like, oh well, why do you research all this stuff? Why do you know all this stuff?
Right?
Because I enjoy the web.
Lights searching the web.
I was like, I ended up reading this. I forget where it was at. I think it was like it was one of the magazines I found when I was doing my run. And it was a talk about uh some 700 club guy. He ended up buying one of those I guess it was like the tailspin plane. And what he ended up doing was setting that plane up to where uh any kind of drastic uh disaster and everything, he'd go and help out. He would like the churches around him would gather up all the necessities like water or whatever, and they'll put it on the plane. They'll go out there, and for a minute, like the big one was Hurricane Katrina that he helped. This guy helped out, and his church group helped out with. They paid for the gas, they paid for everything, and it was just a noble thing. And I'll tell that to somebody, and they're like, "Why do you even know that?" I was like, "Dude, I had a lot of time about nothing, so I'd grab I'd grab anything to read." And
That's
I'm kind of upset on myself. I don't read as much.
I try to tap my clients into this because my clients sometimes they just don't get it, or especially the potential clients, sometimes because again, owning a digital agency, we we were specific. Like my wife owned it before I got there, but all the work was getting shipped off overseas because they kind of knew what it was, right? And here in America, I don't think we always understand or know what we're looking for. We just, we're like, oh, I need a website. And so a website's a website's a website. Kind of like a car is a car is a car. Until I say, hey, you want to drive my car? You're like, well, what kind of car is it? if I say, hey, it's a Maserati, you're like, yeah. If I say, hey, it's a VW, you're like, I'm good, whatever, a Camry or whatever. Not that
Those
anything wrong with the
VWs,
brand, but
those VWs,
know,
are pretty good.
well, it's not a Maserati though, right? We could all agree on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's what what's important here is when you talk about your story or how this goes and how do you know about this or how do you know about that, and it's just like there is no shortage of putting content out that's going to be gobbled up. When I talk, I do talks in front of businesses all the time and stuff. And one of the talks I used to do is what happens in an internet minute. And in 1 minute, the time that we're talking to each other, how much stuff is uploaded to YouTube across the globe, and
Yeah.
how long would it take to digest that? I remember 6 years ago when I was doing this speech, it was like 5 to 6 years of content being uploaded every minute.
Mm.
And so it's like, what people don't realize is there's definitely an appetite for everything that people want to know about. There's no shortage of somebody sitting down in the morning while they do go through their morning routine, whether it be coffee or maybe sitting down on a porcelain chair or something like this, or maybe sitting down and having a bagel and a bite to eat or something. They're using these electronic devices and they're gobbling up anything like what do I do this or how do I find that, or any detail doesn't seem to be too trivial, right? Like somebody out there searching for it. And so I think when you look at platforms like Reddit, for example, that's really kind of pushing that envelope. YouTube's another one. Like, hell, man, I could probably find out how to change the oil in a '57 Chevy. If I watched YouTube somewhere, you know what I mean? And so just it's a great time to be alive, and it's a great time to own a business because you can use all that, leverage all that to your advantage. It really kind of changes the game, so to speak. You don't have to be the biggest guy on the block now to be the most relevant guy on the block.
Oh no. I mean, all the stuff that I got, all the stuff that I've got, I think I put in about the 2-year time frame. I put in probably about $2,000 in this.
Oh yeah. You're talking about your
yeah, and the only reason why that price is because I eventually got something better. At first I was using my phone. Then I went to a laptop, and then I went in and got a soundboard. Then I got a better mic. Then I got a better arm.
Right.
The other host, he had like a little. I think he spent probably around about $60-$70 for his setup.
Yeah.
He got that, and now he has his setup. But I ended up like donating. Like if I'm not using something, I had a soundboard. So here, use this. Bam.
That's the way it goes. I mean, you're probably, as you upgrade, you're probably giving him some of your old stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or selling it, or something like that. That's the thing is I try to tell my clients too. The important part is the authenticity. If you're authentic, you're gonna find out what's what as you go along. You can't drive a parked car. And I equate it to baseball a lot of times too. The best we can do in business is to fill in a lineup card and get out there and start playing the game. You know what I mean? If I'm going to start moving players around, I got to have them on the field first. And so you'll find out real quick, who makes good cookies if you're a cookie maker. You know what I mean? You're going to find that out just by the nature of things. And so, as you go about this journey, you're looking at soundboards, you're reading up on soundboards, you're reading up on microphones and microphone stands, and you're reading reviews and finding out what people have to say. What people don't realize is there's ways to leverage all of that information to create a better brand for you. And so the more of that information or those tidbits that you can get in front of or put yourself in front of, the better your business is going to be for it. And there's kind of a method to this madness. all these algorithms and bots and this type of thing. That's kind of where I come in, and I work with small companies and small businesses, and we try to connect those dots so that way, if somebody's looking for a podcast that's specifically about nothing, hopefully they're going to end up in front of you, right? So
Yeah, that's basically. I'm not. Well, is the whole reason why I ended up doing like the main one that's literally, I guess you would call it a cash cow. It's a serial killer one, only because
yeah. Oh, people love Hillary.
yeah, the story of true crime stories and everything. That's like
My wife watches
you got
that
an
crap all day.
yeah, you got an automatic audience with that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And what I ended up using that as like at first I used it as a news as like, hey, here's a serial killer podcast, but we got these other ones you can check out. And what ended up happening is a friend of ours that was a truck driver, she ended up loving the serial killer podcast, but she was telling us like, oh yeah, he has all this stuff. You can check it out just on one stuff.
Yeah.
And well, our main audience now we're in like 12 countries. So
Wow.
yeah,
Cool.
I'm surprised about that. I was doing I very rarely look at I know I'm the lead of all this stuff, and I'm supposed to like look at the data, and I very rarely look at the data.
That's the thing though. That's why you have guys like me. Most of my clients, I try to tell them, look, do what you're good at. It's for you to try and waste your energy or time to do anything else other than what you're good and passionate about. It doesn't make sense.
Bandwidth.
Get other people. Yeah, bandwidth. It's exactly right. We only have so much bandwidth, right? And so get with other people, build your team, trust yourself that you've made good decisions with the people that you have around you, the relationships you have around you. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't plug us one last time. Make sure you let people know, because I am kind of doing this as a work interview.
Yeah.
If you or your audience needs help with their business, this isn't just for. I mean, we do focus mostly in Texas, but we do international business as well. And we are trying to do it in a way that's outside the box and different. So if you need web tech, or if you need a mobile app, or you have a good idea for a mobile app and you want to find out more about that, what that costs, if you need help, with your products or services in terms of social media or SEO or any of that type of stuff, email marketing, CRM technologies, we do all of that. I was brought into this company to really be the anti-niche. We were the first people to stabilize HD video in a mobile environment, so we're working at native technologies. Web tech is our thing. Java, jQuery, and Bootstrap on HTML. Kind of getting people outside of that platform. Everybody's kind of buying these platforms or renting the platform. They don't really even own their own sites a lot of times, and so trying to get you into something that you can pay for once and own, and then you can kind of work on the marketing side is kind of the whole goal. And
Yeah.
so if you or your clients need help with that, my name is Bob Dubeansky. I'm with Magik Digital, Magik with a K, Magik Digital. And you can find us at texasbestwebdesign.com or www.magik with a K digital.com.
And I'll put that in the description.
Yeah, Magik.
Get all that up, get that all out. But I'll always put, if it's a business and everything, I put it in the description. And
I just want to make sure my boss hears me plugging it.
Dude, I did that. I did that with, because I don't plug my own stuff either.
You got to, man. You got to.
I know I do, but you get in a good conversation. BC and me were talking about it.
It comes with practice.
Yeah. Even professionals like forget.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing. We don't want to always focus on the money, right? Like sometimes, you bring the business side back to a conversation and the passion leads, right? And it's like, I remember that weekend we met each other, getting to hang out with Patrick and hearing about all his stuff. It was like I really had to pry on him to start plugging some of it. But once we kind of opened that can, it started coming out, and so people, once you learn how to plug your stuff, you'll be good at it. Sometimes you got to be nudged a little bit, right? So
I'm actually good at plugging other people.
That's
I
good.
can't plug. I was
There's
like,
nothing wrong
Ta-
with that, man.
like
It's
Tansy,
always good to plug other people.
like Tansy's new book, Pig Latin, is supposed to be out soon. It was supposed to be out in November, but I can't find it. But I I was talking with him, and at the end of the thing, after we got done, he's like, "Hey, call me real quick." I was like, "Okay, cool." Called you. Call him. Called him up. He's like, "Dude, I have never had anybody plug that well for me or do that well of an interview." I was like, "Oh yeah, I was doing an interview." He's like,
Yeah,
"You forgot?" I was like, "Dude, I was just talking with you."
yeah.
And a lot of people that come onto the show, which is I very rarely get it when I get people to come on, just to I'll just have a conversation with them. If we talk about their business, what I usually try to do is like you talk about the business first, then we'll fuck around with the rest of the day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because that's I mean, most of the people, hands down, most people watch probably about 10 to 15 minutes of the first part and they get bored. But
Well, and I get it. The reason I bring it up is just so that way people understand like what qualifies me to be here, I guess,
yeah,
so to speak, right? Like why
I would, well,
you know,
yeah,
other than just
I get
having a
that.
mouth and
I
blue
get
eyes.
that. It's just half the people that like if I pressure somebody to get on the podcast, it's not because, I need a guest, which I do need guests, but we that whole weekend we had an interesting conversation.
Oh
We
man, it was great.
helped you out with your job.
Yeah, you
We're
should
having
get all the
fun.
footage for us, right? So
Yeah.
those shots turned out great, by the way. Thank you so much for doing that. We were able to shoot them. We had them posted for a bit. I think there was some sensitivity to who might be seeing some of that or what. I think they just wanted to kind of keep it in your wraps. And so sometimes I get in these situations with the clients where, hey, I know you put this here. Can we kind of back that off and let the board take a look at it first? And so sometimes that can be tough, but you did a great job. The footage came out great. We were just kind of going through the time code again today because we still got to do some post production with it.
Mm.
And this is again something that we're just doing pro bono to help the Vet Fest out. We run his social media things. In fact, let me plug that if I could. VOIEF, the Veterans of Enduring Iraqi Freedom, or Iraqi Enduring Freedom Operation. It's a very, very mouthful, but yeah, we're running a Facebook and Twitter campaign for them and Instagram. They're trying to put together a mobile kitchen. I think that's what the whole Vet Fest thing was
Yeah.
all about, is to try and get a mobile kitchen. I sat down with Kurt, and he was referred to us through a contact through our local chamber of commerce, and so we were able to try and get him as much exposure as we could. But we're really looking forward to next year if we can keep this campaign going. We'll be able to be a lot bigger, a lot more organized next year because you kind of have the media. You don't have to start the machine up, so to speak. It's kind of already running.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of that on his Facebook page. If you can go to that, let me pull that up real quick so I can see what that is. Um, Veterans of Operation Iraqi Enduring Freedom, and so we're on Facebook there if you want to like that or donate. They're trying to build a mobile kitchen, the only mobile kitchen for veterans and soldiers or active military. Soldiers is such a bad term because I just found out recently the Army is soldiers. If it's Navy, they want to be called sailors, and if it's Marines, they want to be called Marines. So,
Yeah, it's more or less veterans or military personnel.
right. Well, they're trying to do 2 events a year. I'm sorry, a week here in Texas with that mobile kitchen.
Yeah.
And so it's a really cool cause. Kurt has a passion for it. And he wants to help serve veterans who have served us. And we were happy to be a part of it. And hopefully we'll be able to grow it. So, and it was really cool to meet some of the people meet you and Black Rifle Coffee and some of the other sponsors. Window World was out there and the jump team.
We didn't get much with the jump team because they had to go down to, I think they had to go Keller, Texas. Keeler.
Keller's right up by us. Yeah.
Yeah, they had to go. It was like as soon as they did that jump, they had to pack up and go to the next jump.
Oh, did they really? I had no
Yeah,
idea.
that was. Yeah, that's why they it was like, hey, we'll come on the podcast, but you have to email us. We're trying to get a hold of us. I was like, okay, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just
Well,
had
it's cool. It's cool. I mean, I thought the venue was amazing, to be honest with
the
you.
venue
I
was
hope they do it there
freaking
again.
fantastic. Because Chris ended up getting because I don't drink as much as, I mean, not to say, luscious.
Is some other guy?
Yes, he had that sommelier. I'm not a sommelier, although I know one person that says he is, and he is spot on the trolling of freaking wines. It's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
But Chris got this drink, and it was it had like crushed blackberries, mint. It was a mojito, but it was with crushed blackberries in it.
Oh wow, sounds divine.
Dude, I literally I was like, what are you drinking, dude? I was like, dude, it's fucking, I've never had anything this good. I was like, no, and I had a drink. It was in a plastic cup.
Mojito.
It was a blueberry mojito, and I drank it, and I was like, we're in the wrong place, man. We are in the wrong place. We shouldn't be here. He's like, I know, right? This was actually cheap. I'm like, we're in the wrong place.
One of the things I love about moving down here when I first got down here was all of the and maybe it's not just here. I guess I've experienced it because I'm here, but all of the mixology going on in the bar scene and stuff like that. Like, I'm a fan of Manhattans and old fashions and good whiskey and stuff. And so, when you get somebody that's making some different stuff or outside the box and it's really good, it's fun. I remember very early on, the early days of Magic Digital, you could catch us at the usual, just kicking back there on a Friday night, because I could drink 4 or 5 of those things quickly, So I'd want to be right there on the near south side where I could walk home. We were right up the street from there. So, but yeah, there's no shortage of a good place to find a drink out here in DFW.
No, it's not. I mean,
and all the local distilleries now, they have so many distilleries out here.
Well, Tansy, the guy that was he was a cop, and now he runs. This is in like North Carolina though. But he has a rum distillery in North Carolina. A lot of people have that nowadays. I mean, there's a brewery down here, downtown Wichita Falls. That's a great. And I was thinking, I was like, oh man, it's probably one of those rundown.
Oh man, they got some beautiful breweries out here. They got Raw and Sons out here. You have that Black Eyed Peas vodkas out here. You got Tito's. You got a lot of different distilleries out here. That are making a lot of different places, and I'll be honest, I'm a fan of all of it. We've been big on the dispensaries as well. I remember early on, Magic Digital was considering buying a tour bus and just trying to work with dispensaries for a couple of years, because we found them to be in cash rich situations where they didn't mind spending money on marketing.
That's because they have to. Well, okay. Not to get in the business plan of that, but dispensaries are still not considered lawful, even though they're whatever state you're in.
I think that's kind of changed in the last quarter or so. I think some of that started to come full, but yeah, that's exactly why we wanted to make it a mobile thing. Like it was, we were going to go from town to town and just, once we get their website or web tech established or their marketing established or their brand, so to speak, those were fun logos to work with. And because we did HD video in these mobile environments, being able to show a time lapse of a plant coming to fruition, it's beautiful. I mean, this is nature at its finest, and it's all the same reasons I wanted to do it with Richard Rollins from Gas Monkey. It's like I want to put his donuts front and center on the website. You know what I mean? So anything that appeals to itself to kind of outside the box. Because let's face it, I don't get any shortage of insurance agencies or real estate agencies or chiropractors or that type of professional services. So anytime I can get something kind of fun or sexy or lean, green, or mean, it's fun. We're gonna try and take advantage of that because it really gives us a chance to kind of show our dedication to the art of design, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people. I mean, nowadays, good lord, the stuff. I mean, just the stuff they're putting out now is like my main things. I just love comedy and
Oh yeah,
and action movies and everything.
I
But
love.
yeah, a lot of the comedy that's being put out. I mean, a lot of people are upset they don't make very many comedic movies. And if they do make the comedic movies, it's like cookie cutter. It's like, oh, this worked, so we'll just keep on doing it.
Yeah,
But you have a lot of comedy coming out, like TikTok, YouTube, all this stuff, and it's just
I feel like comedy's on that.
hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like comedy's on that road that music is. They're finding out like, hey, I don't have to sell my soul, and like,
Mhm.
imagine what Eddie Murphy would be today without all the Nutty Professor crap. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It was just more of another 48 hours or something like that, right? Like that was gold, right? Like Eddie Murphy Raw, those that you couldn't have that and also be the Disney spokesperson. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think comedies are aware of that too. And there's been kind of a distinction. It's like, hey, I don't need to be a movie star. I can be a comic star, and the two don't have to intertwine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The same with music. You had guys like LL Cool J or other guys that kind of broke the mold. Ice-T is a good example. He went from music. He's still doing music, but he's by far a bigger movie star these days than he ever was, or at least a television star.
yeah.
Um, you know,
I
and I
love
don't.
his stuff. His stuff is actually really good, great.
Oh
He's
yeah, there's a lot of good music out right now, man. I don't
yeah,
know if you paid attention to Coast Contra. What they're doing is kind of like seeing a resurgence of what Wu Tang was at one point.
yeah.
Getting to see,
Even
just
Wu Tang. I mean, if you look at Wu Tang, they went from making music and uh God, I can't remember his name, but he did he does a lot of the kung fu movies because he loved kung fu movies.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Guy that does this last one was the guy in with the iron fist.
yeah, yeah. The Marvel one.
No, it was straight his.
Oh, okay, okay. I was thinking,
Not iron fist, but uh he basically he got his arms chopped off and he had he put iron fists.
oh, okay.
Uh but it was really good. I mean, they had Russell Crowe in it, uh David Batista. I can't remember his name. I'm
No,
gonna have to look it up now.
it's a great time to be in music. I mean, how Method Man's putting out music these days today. Like I saw something with him last week with him and Ice Cube in it. Immortal Technique was in one of these with him just recently. They just put an album out. Snoop Dogg just released something new last week, And that's the thing is if you're not paying attention to the socials, you're probably not catching this stuff. Because it's not highly advertised. They don't need to uh, do all of this and that. They can sell their merch by just putting the song up and putting links to there. Heck, Chris Webby, I think he's put out more music in the last 3 years than the rest of the industry combined because
Yeah.
he does his Webby Wednesdays and it's like every week like clockwork, and watching what Harry Mack's doing with Omegle bars and Gorilla bars and this type of thing is really cool. But this isn't just happening here, it's happening all over the place, with almost any genre of music you can think of, not just hip hop, Um,
By the
I
way, RZA.
yeah,
I
yeah,
totally forget about RZA. I was like, it was one of them. RZA,
yeah.
RZA. Yeah. But no,
I think that's who the big guy is right now, the producer, and I don't pretend to know much about this. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the music and stuff like that. So it's hard to really keep track of projects because you go down some dark some rabbit holes there that there's just so much talent.
Mhm.
Black Thought, for example, with him and the Roots, and most people have no idea. You look up Black Thought when he's on Funk Flex, and you tell me that you got a better freestyle artist out there than that. It's tough to find. You know what I mean? So,
Well, it's
and,
like I started listening to Cam Cole,
okay, yeah,
and
I think we were talking about that the weekend I was out there.
yeah. I was shipping it to BC because he was like, "Hey, what music do you listen to?" Because when we're on your podcast, we didn't go on music, and on our podcast we talk about music. I was like, check out Cam Cole. He's like, Cam Cole, who's that? I sent it to him. He's like, dude, who is this guy? I was like, is he one? How big is his band? Because it sounds like a lot of instruments. It's like it's one guy. It's like no.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's crazy what you can do with a sampler these days. I think that's the important part to getting out there too. Is like you can't just do it on an online environment because people don't really have an expectation. Music is one of those things that have to be performed. You know what I mean? Guitars for Heroes, for example, that weekend when we went out there to the venue, I believe they landed a full-time gig out there because of that.
Yeah.
Because the owner loved what they were doing and what they were part of, and it was something they could really get behind. And you never know. A lot of times, there's a brand that's looking to partner up with something. I'm trying to tell a lot of my clients, hey, look, let's find a nonprofit for you to start sistering up with, so that way when you see their logo, you see your logo, and really they become synonymous with each other, and so that way you can kind of further your cause, or. And it doesn't mean that you have to be only dedicated to one cause or one charity, but it's the one that you kind of get to be known for, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And so you can do that in a number of ways with music or film, and seeing kind of what's going on with small films and short stories and stuff like that. It's a really cool time in there too. And the internet's just changing a lot of the ways that we have figured out how to go about doing this, and it's neat to see all the different layers. Your podcast is one of how many being shot today, for example. You know what
Probably
I
about
mean?
600 million.
Right. It's like,
I'm not that special. I know that. I'm not
no,
that
I
big of
don't
an
mean to say
ego.
that. I don't mean to put it like that. I mean,
No,
we're
no, no,
all
no. You're right. I mean, I was like, I have no delusion.
well, a rising tide, right,
Yeah,
raises all boats, right?
but
So,
it's the one that just keeps on going and takes the punches and everything. It's like, man, how long have you been doing this? Well, it's like comedy. I was dipping my toes into comedy, but I have too much stuff going on that I need to like back off because I might
so
not.
who are some of your favorite comics?
Sam Kinison.
Oh man,
The,
he's great.
oh
Do you
yeah.
think Sam Kinison could do like I was trying to explain this to my kids these days, like they'll never see another Sam Kinison or Andrew Dice Clay or Bobcat Goldthwait because the
I'll
the audience wouldn't accept them today.
Sam Kinison, they're in my opinion, uh I don't think I think you could still have Sam Kinison because look at what Bill Burr does. Bill Burr,
Yeah,
Bill
I
Burr,
think Bill
Bill Burr's
Barr's kind. I
not.
think Bill Barr's kind of had to find his niche, even so to speak, to stay in there. But
Watch his latest
dude,
thing on Netflix.
it's great, man. I
Dude,
watch
that's
Netflix
fucking
for joke.
hilarious.
Johnny Chen's one of my favorites right now. He's just so funny.
Who was the other one? I was from back Andrew Dice Clay was all right, but he doesn't he his stuff was back in the day was just the shock value, and he's gotten away from the shock value. It was like a snap of a finger, and I knew he was going to be gone. I mean, right after that movie that he did, Ford Fairlane. Now that was hilarious. That was a great movie. My hair.
My head.
But no, I still believe Sam Kinison could get away with it.
See, I like to hope he could, but at the same time, I just feel like today's audiences are too sensitive for that type of stuff. You know?
I don't no, I don't. Okay, look at fuck, what was it? Peacemaker. The HBO Max TV show with John Cena.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I watched it. I watched
Yeah,
it.
it was
Watched the
it was very, very trashy.
Yeah, it was very trashy, but go back and watch Sam Kinnis.
No, go
I
back
feel
and
like
watch
it's
like
been maybe a
Blazing
minute since.
Saddles.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're talking
I
about. We're
would
talking
still
about
it's one of those things is I would still if my world of thinking is people are always saying it's like, oh, in this day and age it wouldn't, everybody would be against it. Yeah, the critics would be against it. Critics are against Bill Burr. Critics are been against Dave Chappelle. But
yeah.
here's the thing: nobody listens to critics anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but there's no shortage of people getting canceled, you know.
Oh yeah,
For
oh
whatever
yeah. As long
reason.
as
Like I
you
said
gotta keep
before,
it.
we go mad in masses. We come to our senses one at a time, you know.
I okay. Sam Kinison didn't do any like. He was raunchy,
It
but
was
he made it work. I was
yeah,
like, I was talking to a couple of my comic friends, and we were going off. And he was like, "You can do a racist joke and be white, but it better be damn funny.
well,
I
you
mean,
gotta have
it would have to be
behavior.
like hilarious."
Yeah. Well, I see guys all the time doing uh pushing the envelope. And I think YouTube's another good example of that. You know, you get to see some outliers and you know, these things have a way of changing us. I mean, if you look at Borat, for example, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
parts of that movie where I find myself laughing, I'm like, man, I should not feel like this. Like this should not be funny to me, you know. And 10 years later, I go back and I try to watch the second one. I couldn't even get through it. I
there
just
was there was a scene where he was wrestling the other guy, and he almost died. They almost jumped the ring to kick his ass. They had to rush him right out.
oh
But
wow.
yeah, but we need that punch of an envelope. We need to push it.
Well,
And
comedy's got to be one of those areas of sacred, you know, where freedom
yeah,
of freedom of choice and freedom of speech is protected. You know,
and a
in
lot.
most other areas, I feel like people are fighting for some of these freedoms for the right to be lied to. But I think
Mhm.
Chappelle right on the nail with this. You know, this is sacred. You know, we have to be able to talk and joke about these things
Oh yeah,
as a people. So
it's like it's like my daughter. She she's 16, but and I tell her it's like more. Wait until you fully grow up because you don't. Because she's like, I'm a lesbian, asexual. I'm like,
wow.
you know how contradictory you are right now.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I might be. I was like, Maura, just wait it out. Just wait it out.
It's so
It's
different
so
compared to our generation. My generation X, we didn't want to be labeled. I don't
no,
want to be
and I
labeled my
still hate.
neighbor. Don't call me that. Don't call, you know, I don't want to be associated with that. I am me.
Yeah,
And it's just such a different time now. So it is kind of hard to wrap my head around some of that. But
well, look at the music industry right now. You're not. What was it? It was death metal. I'm
gotta
more
be
or less.
honest, man, I'm completely tuned out on the industry part of it. You know,
No,
if
no,
it's
no.
not
I'm
on
not that.
YouTube or
It's they give labels for
on
each of the rock group.
yeah,
I'm a big time metal. I was like,
yeah.
now it's death metal. Now it's this
Oh
metal,
yeah.
and now it's that metal. I even heard there was
The
one,
garage metal.
dude. There was one that's called goblin metal. I'm like,
Goblin
what?
metal. Oh, that's funny. So
And I was like, I can't even listen to death metal because all it is.
yeah.
I'm Metallica, Iron Maiden, man. That
Yeah.
they I mean that stuff got you introduced to.
Second death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was talking to my boy the other day. He's a fan of. He likes John Bon Jovi a lot, actually. He's a Bon Jovi fan, so it's kind of weird to me that he's 14, 15 years old and he wants a Bon Jovi shirt. You know what I mean? But
What was
I
it?
was talking to him about Twisted Sister the other day and how smart that guy was and
Oh
how he
man, he was a
and
freaking
all.
genius.
Yeah, I mean, he still's got a show. They do a show down in Waco on the Bear. I catch it every once in a while when I'm driving through there.
Mm.
Uh, and he gets on there. They do a good show. It's one of those shows where they'll play some rock and they'll talk a lot of interviews and stuff like that. It's him and
Is
a
he in
counter.
Waco now?
I don't think he's there. I think it's syndicated out of somewhere else.
Oh,
But
okay.
that's when I'm driving through there. But
I mean, really interesting. uh, Dean Snyder. That's the
Steve
lead
Snyder,
singer.
that's
Yeah,
who
yeah.
we're talking about. Yeah,
He. I just had to remember the name.
you're good. You're good.
Look up Dean Snyder and Congress,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
dude.
Him
I,
fighting Tip Gore and
mhm.
freedom of speech, and guy's a genius.
Yeah, and that speech. I forgot who I was talking about. Talking to, and he's like, man, so and so. I was like, Dean Snyder. On the other hand, he really pushed the envelope to get for free speech and everything. It's like Dean Snyder. You mean from Twisted Sister? And I pulled up the video. He's like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, don't judge a book by its cover, man.
So, yeah, sometimes you don't judge people by how they look. You don't judge them by their family. Just because someone is related to someone you don't like, don't mean they don't have a worth themselves.
Oh,
So.
oh yeah. I have a story with that. I met uh I guess it was his cousin, Osama bin Laden's cousin.
Oh, okay, very interesting.
Yeah, I had to do a bunch of stuff in Bahrain, and I was talking to the store owner. I was just getting some pastry stuff for our base. Uh Basically government wanted me to spend a shit ton of money. But I was talking to this dude. I was like, "Oh man, you're not all that bad." He was like, "Yeah, but one of my cousins is bad." I was like,
Oh, you had no idea how bad.
who's your cousin?" I was like, I don't want to say to you, you're American right now. You would probably take.
Oh,
I was
dude,
like,
that's so funny.
who the fuck is your? No, he was like, yes. I was like, no, yes. But he was the most delightful man I have ever met. And then I was like, it, was he always a crackpot? Always a crackpot. It was
That's funny.
it's one of those things is like I didn't really believe him, but it's still a good story.
It sure
But
is.
yeah, oh man, it's just you just can't really go out because it's like if you met my sister, she's had her problems in her life, and even now is like even we went to Thanksgiving, and she was like, "Why are you being so mean?" I was like, "I'm not being mean to you. You're being an idiot." And you need to be like I'm letting you know that you're being an idiot. It's like I'm not being an idiot. I'm like, well, there's like three things that was happening. I was talking to my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law, we knew each other since high school. And she's not married to him. He's married to my stepsister.
Oh, okay.
And what had happened is I was talking to him about one, we were talking about whiskey, and we were making he was making me old fashioned. And we were having a conversation. She would butt in. She was like repeating his or mine words. I was like, Amy, stop being a parrot. Get the fuck away if you can't stop. That's rude. I was like, no, what you're doing is rude. then me and the friend that she brought in that she wanted to be boyfriends with, one of the dogs ended up biting him, and the brother the nephew, I was like, hey dude, grab him Take him inside. I was like, I can't get the door. I was like, all right, knock on the door and get somebody to get in there. I got to patch this up. And he goes in and he's like, no one's opening the door. And I was like, I opened up the door. I was like, and she just is like, I missed the door. Ha, ha. I was like, Amy, you need to stop right now. And we needed somebody at the door. You're closest, right? She's like, yeah, but I was like, she's like, you don't have to be so. It's like, your friend that you just brought in just got bit. I'm patching him up. You need to shut the fuck up. And after a while, she's just like, why were you being? I was like, Amy, you don't know what you did. So I'm not even gonna deal with it anymore.
Sometimes you gotta learn to read a room. But
yeah,
David, I want to thank you so much for letting me come on today, man.
No problem, brother.
Appreciate it. It's been good. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah. Just let me know, or I'll pester you. I'll probably pester.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll get on. If you ever have a panel or something you need me on, let me know.
Yeah. Oh man, so many people want to be on the sports show after I tell them the sports show.
Oh, I don't mind being on the sports show either. I love talking sports. So
everybody that when we were on that weekend was like, oh, dude, you got a sports show? I was like,
yeah. Yeah, I do a lot of sports. I do a lot of talk radio too. So
really,
I'd be happy to plug your stuff if you have some things coming up that you want me to know about. Give me a list of some of the details you got going on and where.
Okay.
If you're be here in the Metroplex, let us know so that we can try to get.
Yeah, I needed to get it. Well, I'll do that later on after we get done with this. But everybody, this is God, I'm sorry, Bob Dubeansky. Matt, what is it?
Magik Digital.
Magik Digital, which the stuff will be in the description. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching, and we are out of here.